All right, so we're taking a deep dive into what it takes to be a warfare specialist today.
Okay.
You've sent us a ton of interesting stuff on this career path.
Yeah.
Interview tips, guides, really the whole nine yards.
Right.
And it seems like you want to know what it really takes.
Yeah.
Because this role, it's a lot more than just combat boots on the ground.
It really is. You're right.
Yeah.
What I find super interesting about all this is how much of it boils down to strategy.
Really?
It's less about being physically strong and way more about making really important decisions with only like a piece of the puzzle,
Wow.
often under a ton of pressure.
See, I was expecting this whole thing to be about physical strength and endurance,
Yeah.
but the sources you sent over, they put so much emphasis on cognitive skills.
Right.
68% reading comprehension, critical thinking over 60%. That's wild. It's like you're Sherlock Holmes in the middle of a mission. Why are those skills so important in this line of work?
Okay, so imagine this.
Mm-hmm.
You're a warfare specialist on the ground, and you get some intel,
Hmm.
but it doesn't all add up. Maybe it's even contradicting itself.
Oh, wow.
You have to analyze everything, immediately assess what's happening, and make a decision.
Right.
That decision could impact the entire mission. One wrong move, and there could be some really bad outcomes.
Wow, that is intense. Talk about pressure. And speaking of intel, the sources mention all this advanced technology,
Mm-hmm.
but they're pretty vague on the specifics.
Okay.
Are we talking drones, satellite feeds? Give me the details. What kind of high-tech gear are we talking about?
Think like cutting-edge surveillance,
Okay.
radar systems that track movement from miles away.
Wow.
And then there's something called GIS. It's basically Google Maps, but on a whole other level.
Mm-hmm.
You can visualize the entire battlefield, troop movements, enemy locations, all in real time.
So you're telling me it's not just about instinct and gut feelings.
No way.
It's about processing tons of information from all over and making decisions in seconds. This is really changing how I think about warfare specialists.
Yeah,
It takes a certain kind of person to handle all that.
it really does. It's a
Yeah.
demanding role. And as you move up the ranks, it doesn't get any easier.
Speaking of ranks, the career stages section you sent lays out a pretty clear path from entry level all the way up to senior positions.
Right.
What's that journey actually look like?
It's a steady climb with more and more responsibility at each level.
Okay.
You start as entry level, and you're basically just taking it all in.
Right.
All the tactics, the tech, how to communicate.
Makes sense.
Think of it like building a house. You need a strong foundation before you can do anything else.
Okay, so you're getting your feet wet, learning the basics. What's the next step up from there?
That would be junior warfare specialist. That's where you take what you've learned and start applying it.
Okay.
You get more responsibility, and you're often working on your own in some pretty intense situations.
Really?
You're trusted to make tactical decisions that directly impact your team's safety and the success of the mission.
So the stakes are higher, and you're given more freedom to act on your own.
Yeah, you could say that.
It seems like there's no room for error at that level.
You need to be on top of your game, for sure.
What I'm seeing here is that communication is critical throughout this whole process.
Absolutely. Communicating clearly and directly can be the difference between success and failure.
Right.
And misunderstandings in this line of work, well, they can have some very serious consequences.
This is all really eye-opening. So
Yeah.
you've got entry level and junior. What comes after that?
That's where things get really interesting. You move into a mid-level warfare specialist role, and this is where leadership becomes absolutely essential.
Ah, so now you're not just following orders, you're the one giving them.
Exactly.
You're calling the shot.
You're leading the decision-making process, you're analyzing threats, and strategically positioning your team. You're like a quarterback in a football game.
Okay, I like that analogy.
You're calling the plays, but the game has really high stakes. And your success depends on how well you lead, how well you communicate, and how well you perform under pressure.
That really drives it home.
Right.
So you hit mid-level, where does the path go from there?
You're talking about reaching the top senior warfare specialist.
Wow.
This is where years of experience, honed skills, and a deep understanding of warfare all come together.
So you're like the general overseeing the whole operation.
In a way, yes. You're making strategic decisions for complex operations, often involving multiple teams, sometimes even international collaborations. But it's not just about giving orders from some far-off command center.
Right.
You're responsible for every single person under your command. You're making the tough calls that keep them safe and make sure the mission is a success.
The weight of that responsibility, it must be immense. It makes you think about the human cost of war.
It does.
The emotional toll it takes, not just on the soldiers, but on their families back home, too.
You're right. It's a sobering thought and something that every warfare specialist carries with them. but we can talk more about that later. It's easy to get caught up in the tactical side of things, the boots on the ground aspect.
Sure.
But what really stood out to me in these materials was the focus on constantly learning.
Oh, really?
It's not something you just learn once and then you're good. You're always having to adapt and learn new things.
That's really interesting. So it's not like other jobs where you learn the ropes and you're set. You're constantly pushing yourself to expand your knowledge. What does that look like in practice?
Well, think of it like this. The world of warfare, it's constantly changing. New tech comes out, tactics evolve, and the global political landscape is always shifting.
Right.
To stay ahead of the game, warfare specialists, they have to be like sponges, constantly absorbing information.
So how do they actually do that? Are we talking like weekends, seminars, online courses? What's the deal?
It's a real commitment to staying in the know. Reading military journals, going to conferences, constantly running simulations and war games. And there's a huge focus on getting specialized certifications.
Yeah, the source mentioned that there was a whole section on it.
Right.
Becoming a certified defense strategic planner or even a certified ethical hacker. What's that all about? Is hacking part of it too?
Oh, absolutely. It's huge these days. Cyber warfare is a major battleground now.
That's right.
A warfare specialist might need to analyze malware-secure communication networks, even launch counter-cyber attacks. It's all part of that changing landscape we were just talking about.
Wow, that's pretty intense. So there's room for people to specialize, to become an expert in a specific area.
You got it. Just like any other profession, specialization is key, especially as you move up in the ranks.
Right.
You could have warfare specialists who are experts in counterterrorism, others in drone warfare, some who are masters of logistics and planning huge operations.
Okay, so it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of career path.
No.
You can tailor it based on what you're good at and what interests you. That's really cool. But with all these different specialties, how do they all stay on the same page? How do they share information and strategies?
That's where networking comes in.
Makes sense.
Building connections with other professionals, going to industry events, joining military organizations. It's about tapping into that shared pool of knowledge and using it to succeed in the mission.
So it's not just what you know, but who you know. That's important in any field, but especially in one as collaborative and high stakes as this one. But let's shift gears a bit. All this talk about career paths and specializing is great, but how does someone actually get a job as a warfare specialist in the first place?
Now you're talking. That's where the real work begins.
Yeah.
You got to nail that interview.
Right.
And lucky for you, you sent over some really helpful materials on what to expect.
That's right. We've got interview tips, sample questions, all that good stuff.
Great.
It seems like you really want to be prepared. And I don't blame you. It sounds like a tough job to get.
Oh, it is. It's not your average job interview. You have to prove that you can handle the pressure and responsibility that come with this job. They're not messing around. They're looking for a very specific kind of person.
So no pressure, right?
Exactly. So what's the secret to acing this interview? What do these materials say?
Okay.
First things first, preparation is key.
Of course.
You have to know your stuff inside and out. We're talking understanding the different branches of the military, the specific duties of a warfare specialist, the current global situation. You need to show them you're passionate about this work, not just that you want a job.
So don't just walk in there unprepared. Do your research show them you're serious, that you're really driven to do this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just about memorizing facts. They want to see how you think, how you handle being under pressure, how you solve problems.
Right.
Be ready for those unexpected questions. The what would you do if scenario.
You're leading a patrol and you come face to face with the enemy, but your comms are down. What do you do? That kind of thing.
Exactly. They want to see you think on your feet. Make a decision under pressure.
Talk about thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
But it's not all about working alone, right? We talked about how important teamwork is. They have to be looking for that too.
100%. They want to know about your experiences working in teams, how you deal with conflict, how you create a positive and productive team environment.
So it's about showing those leadership qualities, that ability to inspire others, even in the toughest situations.
Right. It's about proving that you're not just looking out for yourself, that you understand the importance of the team, the unit, the mission above all else.
It's honestly kind of amazing the level of dedication and teamwork they're looking for, but I guess it makes sense when you think about what's at stake.
That's the thing about this job. It's not just a job, it's a calling. And that interview process, it's designed to weed out the people who aren't really cut out for it.
Makes sense. So we've talked about knowing everything, showcasing your experience, and proving you're a team player. Any other tips for absolutely crushing that interview?
One more thing, and it's important. Be yourself. Authenticity is key. They've seen it all. They can spot a fake a mile away.
Mm.
Just be genuine, be honest. Let your real personality come through.
Don't try to be some super soldier cliche. They want the real you.
Exactly. Because in the end, they're not just hiring someone to do a job. They're trusting you with the safety and security of your team, your unit, your country.
Wow, that is a huge responsibility. It really makes you think about the bigger picture here.
It's a weight every warfare specialist carries, and it's not something they take lightly.
This entire deep dive has been eye-opening. We started thinking it was all about combat skills, but we've learned so much more. It's about strategy, using advanced tech, being a leader, always learning, and having the mental toughness to make life or death decisions when everything's on the line.
It's been quite a journey. And for me, what really stands out is the incredible dedication and commitment it takes to succeed in this role. It's more than a job, it's a way of life. It's about serving something bigger than yourself.
And from what we've seen in these materials, it's not a choice to be made lightly. There are serious risks and sacrifices, but the rewards, they can be huge, both personally and professionally.
No doubt about it. It's a chance to push your limits, learn skills that'll stay with you forever, and actually make a difference in the world.
If anyone listening is thinking about this path, I'd say this: do your homework, talk to people who are actually doing this job, and most importantly, be honest with yourself about what you're willing to put in and what you're hoping to get out of it.
Well said. Because it all comes down to finding the right fit, a role that matches your values, your skills, and what you want to achieve.
And you never know, maybe this deep dive sparked something in you, ignited a passion you didn't even know you had.
That's the power of knowledge, isn't it? It opens your mind to new possibilities, makes you question what you thought you knew, and inspires you to strive for something more.
And on that note, we'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of a warfare specialist.